It's a pleasure to welcome Siddharth Roy Kapoor, founder and managing director, Roy Kapoor Films, and the president of Producers Guild of India, to this interaction with Creative First. As all of you know, Siddharth has won several accolades in his illustrious career in India's media and entertainment industry, which includes national awards for the films Chiller Party and Pan Singh Tomar. He has also been recognized by the Hollywood Reporter and the Economic Times as the top 40 business leaders under 40. Siddharth, thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me, Loita.
What does 2022-23 mean for the Indian content and film industry?
That's a great question, and I wish we had a crystal ball to answer that. But since I'm not an epidemiologist, I'm going to give you my limited view from standing from a business, perspective. I think we're all really optimistic about the fact that in the medium term to the long term, there's going to be quite a boom in the media and entertainment industry going forward, because we are ironically one of those few industries where demand has actually grown over the last year and a half. I think it's just the modes of distribution that have been more limited. Theatrical, namely, has been out of the equation, and rightly so, for the last for the last year and a half. But like we're seeing in the US, the green shoots are very visible. You've had $100 million box offices happening on weekends, in places which are more or less reaching herd immunity. So our hope is that, given that the pace of vaccination is also increasing now, our hope is that 2022 will actually be the start of the roaring 20s for us as a media and entertainment business. So fingers crossed for that.
Sid, what are some of the more innovative developments that have happened in the industry with the sudden pandemic and consequent lockdown, when people had to adapt, and people pretty much didn't have any option?
I think the ingenuity when it comes to pre-production and post-production has been quite incredible. I mean, the presumption earlier was that you've got to meet physically to actually be able to put a film together or a series together or a piece of content together. But I think, necessity is truly the mother of invention, and people have gotten together remotely, virtually, in ways that they never thought were imaginable earlier. The fact that entire, large pieces of content could be prepped without people actually physically meeting, and then actually post-produced remotely from remote locations, dubbing, recording, all kinds of things have been going on with respect to the use of technological aids that were at our disposal. But because our predisposition is to actually do things physically, we weren't maybe using them to their full potential, but now we are. And even the shooting process, I mean, just the fact that the level of discipline that's been involved in creating bubbles and ensuring that they are, maintained. We shot a show for Netflix in Manali and Dalhousie, across 70 odd days without a single case on the set. And that's actually, and I know that lots of productions have actually been able to do that. And that's testament to just the discipline of the unit in being able to change their modes of behavior. It's not easy on movie sets because there's so much time with people just hanging around, and so much labor involved, but we have managed to do it. That's on the operation side. I think with respect to using different modes of distribution, that's also been something that we've seen the quick adaptability from theatrical to streaming platforms, and that's happened pretty quickly. We've seen a lot of content creators of short format content actually blossoming and thriving in this time, because they've been creating time relevant content and delivering it to people who've been so thirsty to get it. So I think lots of creativity with regard to content creation as well as the operations part of it.
Absolutely. I think the show must go on. In the future, how do you see what kind of forms do you feel will be in demand, and what would be different for the urban consumer and the rural consumer?
So I'll answer your first question. To start with, I think all genres will still be in demand. I don't think we're going to suddenly have a time when people don't want to watch horror or dystopia, or, there is an audience for all kinds of content. I think the modes on which that content is watched might change quite significantly going forward. That's just a hunch. There's no way to know whether that will bear itself out. But my sense is that a theatrical experience is now going to be more for the big blockbuster entertainers, slapstick comedy, big stars, horror, things that need to be enjoyed with a group of people, and need to be experienced with a group of people, and the sheer energy of being together and having this experience. I think the more intimate, lighter drama, light comedy, romance might actually move a little bit more to the OTT space. And the good part is that today we have that ability to have a very viable other platform for those genres, which might not have been that sustainable in a theatrical format now that people are so used to watching things in the comfort of their homes. But genre-wise, I think we are going to have pretty much all the genres that we have today, and hopefully more in the future. To answer your second question with regard to the urban-rural divide, it's interesting that some regional cinemas manage to actually cater to both audiences very effectively, and therefore been able to have pan-urban and rural successes. In Hindi cinema, I think we found that more difficult, probably because there are a certain group of producers and creators and directors who are making content for a much more urban audience that doesn't necessarily resonate across the length and breadth of the country. And then there are some who are making content for the more mainstream audience, which might not necessarily resonate in the urban centers. I think what we're looking for in Hindi cinema now is more of those pan-Indian hits, like a Bahubali, like what an RRR promises to be, things that can actually entertain the entire nation the way that our blockbusters used to in the past. And I think that's actually the next holy grail, I think, for a lot of producers to be able to find that pan-Indian blockbuster.
Right. As you said earlier, there was a significant disruption in production schedules because of the pandemic. How do you think government, both federal and state, can help in easing this impact?
There are two aspects to it. I think if you look at the economic aspect, frankly, the expectations of the media and entertainment industry now are fairly low with regard to there being any government support for this sector, because probably there are so many other more nuts and bolts sectors that the government believes needs its help and support. So I think we should not be looking to government support when it comes to SOPs or benefits or anything of that nature. What I definitely feel would help would be some more easing of the GST slabs, number one. Number two, a little bit more of a rationalization of the input and output credit when it comes to the flow of GST. Some sort of a tax incentive for cinemas to be able to actually proliferate, because they've been so struck down by the pandemic that they do need a bit of a fillip. So not incentives with regard to actually providing them subsidies or funds, but looking at probably a tax holiday the way that in the early 2000s, which led to the multiplex boom. That would be wonderful if that could be on the cards. Taking out the economic aspect, I think the government can definitely help very strongly by making some very strong statements about their support for freedom of expression, their support for people being able to create the content that they want to create, obviously abiding by the norms that have been laid down for us. But I think the industry is in need of some show of support from the authorities, saying that they have our back, and that other than things that are enshrined in the constitution that need to be protected with regard to the security of the country, things that are actually mentioned in the constitution and are curbs to regular freedom of expression and are natural curbs that should be in place. I think it's important for them to signal to the industry that anything else will not be will not really be looked at as something that they need to get into, and that the industry will be therefore allowed to create the content that we want to.
Right. So Siddharth, there have been several shoots earlier which used to happen in Mumbai, Hyderabad, which are pretty much production hubs. Now, given the pandemic and the lockdowns, how are productions meeting the schedules?
I don't think they are meeting the schedules, if I have to be honest. It's been tough. It's been quite tough. I think schedules have had to be moved, and timelines have had to be redefined. The advertising industry had it a little bit easier because those are 3 or 4 day shoots, and therefore you can quickly go into a state at a certain point of time which has eased up restrictions, like Goa, in the early months of the last lockdown, post the last lockdown, the way that we went to Himachal to shoot a show. But we've had to be quite inventive, and frankly, timelines have gone for a bit of a toss. So everyone's had to rejig their plans and schedules.
Do you think that state governments can play a role in this? Because I understand, because of the lockdowns in these hubs, that's the reason why a lot of people, like in television, shot in Gujarat, etc. How can they play a role? Because we know that there'll be variants, and the new normal is going to be there for a while. So
I really don't think, honestly, that state governments can play much of a role here. They've got to be looking at public health first and foremost, and that actually impacts us too. So they've got to take the measures that they think are most necessary for the safety and health of the citizenry of that state, and we've just got to comply with that. So I think it would be unfair for us to expect them to do anything with regard to that.
Sure. Earlier this year, we believe a large delegation led by the Guild made a case for Kashmir as a filming destination. What, in your opinion, is a solution going forward? How can film policies help foster a robust and sustainable production ecosystem?
I think Kashmir has unfortunately over the last few decades, because of the troubles there, has not been a place that, Indian filmmakers have been going to. But now going forward, I really do think that the state is in a position where it will welcome, it will support, it will encourage us to go there and shoot it. I don't need to say anything about the beauty of the state and how much it'll enrich our cinema. But I think we just need to go out there and do it now. The time has come when the state has opened up, for business. It's very important for us, number one, to enhance our own projects, and number two, I think, to provide more employment and more revenue to the state, which really deserves to be supported at this point.
Siddharth, what are your thoughts on the proposed amendments to the Cinematograph Act?
There are a couple that I'm in favor of. The one with regard to the age-related certification, which I think is very interesting. I think some clarifications that are required with regard to the specifics of what constitutes, each of the age brackets, because we're going from 3 classifications, which is U, UA, and A, to a more layered system, which the industry had actually been asking for. So I think that I'm definitely in support of, with some very clear clarifications with regard to what those classifications are and what kind of piece of content will fall into which one. I'm also in support of the strong anti-piracy, norms that have been put in place. I'm very much in support of that. It's the need of the hour, and I really applaud the government for putting that in. What I'm definitely not in support of is the proposal for the center to, even after certification has been issued by the CBFC, to recommend recertification. That's something that I think, as an industry, we're not in support of at all. And we've made a strong and united, representation to the authorities about that. We have a CBFC in place. The CBFC is constituted of, eminent people from across both the media as well as other sectors, as enshrined in the Constitution and as enshrined in its charter. That is the body that should be certifying. And if anyone has a problem with that certification, they can go to the courts. We don't have the tribunal anymore, which was taken out a few months ago when there was a cleanup done with regard to tribunals across various sectors, and that actually was a very good place for the filmmaker to go if they had a problem with the certification. But now in this environment where the CBFC is the be all and end all, and you don't have a tribunal after that, to have one more layer of uncertainty is not something that the industry really supports. And I think it's very important that we've made that representation loud and clear.
Right. Siddharth, the Guild has played a very important role during these tough times. And, you all did release a handbook for safe shooting. Tell us something more about that.
I'm really heartened by how everyone came together. I mean, people often say the industry is not united and we're so fragmented and all that, but I honestly haven't seen that. I've seen that whenever there's been a cause that really is close to everyone's heart and everyone is behind, we all come together to do what we have to do. I mean, this was something that was, a cause that there couldn't be any confusion about having people on two sides. You had to create a standard operating procedure to be able to shoot. And, there were some Guild members who really stepped up to the plate and put in a lot of hard work by taking inputs from across the entire sector and talking to EPs, talking to line producers, talking to production houses to be able to put in place an SOP that's held us in very good stead so far.
Right. That's great. I personally think it's amazing. It's very well detailed. And probably a lot of states can also learn from, the handbook. How's the Guild helping cine workers cope during these tough times?
That's another thing I'm very proud of, the way that every member has been so generous about, contributing very early on, actually last year, to what we knew was going to happen with the daily wage earners in our industry. I would like to call out Netflix in particular, who's been very, very generous. And a lot of our members who've all stepped up to the plate. I mean, we've all done the best we can. And we've worked with the Federation to ensure, the distribution of the funds that were required for that. We've put processes in place to ensure that we can spread that as wide as possible so that it can help, as many workers as possible. We've done one more round just now. So there's been a very concerted effort to ensure that those who are most vulnerable within our world get the support that they require at this time.
Right. So Sid, for our viewers, just wanted to understand what's next for Roy Kapoor Films. We do see that there are a lot of shows, but if you can give us some insights.
Sure. So we've got a war film, Pippa, which is directed by Raja Menon, that is centered around the Bangladesh war in 71. Ishan Khattar, Mrunal Thakur are in the film. Soni Razdan is in the film. Priyanshu Panyuli. They play a family that's been impacted by the war. And they are patriots and they are, citizens of the country who believe in what they're doing. But it covers a very interesting aspect of the war. And that's a war that's never been documented before. So we're very excited about that. And Pippa was the slang for the tank, which was really an amphibious tank that was used at that point of time. But it also stands for the billions of the people, who were involved in that war. They got through, they got through the torrents of fate and like sort of made it to the other side. We've got a film called Wo Ladki Hai Kahan, starring Taapsee Pannu and Pratik Gandhi. That is written and directed by Arshad Syed. That starts later in the year as well. It's a really fun comedy. We've got a few films that are made for OTT that we'll be ready to announce in a few months. There's a show for Netflix called Aranyak that I mentioned earlier. Ravina Tandon and Parambrata Chatterjee are in that show. Showrunners Rohan Sippy, directed by Vinay Vaikul. That should drop on Netflix later this year. That's a thriller. We've got a show called Rocket Boys we're doing with Sony Live, which is about India's space program. So really, it basically talks about Homi Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai and their journey. Jim Sarb and Ishwak Singh are playing both roles. Showrunners Nikhil Advani, directed by Abhay Pannu. And we've got a show that we're probably doing with Amazon. We've got a couple with more with Sony Live. We've got a few more with Netflix. So there's lots of activity. It's
You're really busy, basically. So that's great, Siddharth. Thank you so much for your valuable insights into the industry. And of course, given all that you do, thank you so much for this interaction with us.
That was my pleasure.
Have a lovely day.
You too.
Bye.